So how's everybody? Good? Good. So I got 5 students that aren't in a group yet. I imagine none of you are here right now, but Liliana Adame?
She dropped.
She dropped? Abdullah Al-Juraifani. Fahad Al-Mutairi. Mohammed Al-Rumi.
Yes, here.
Are you here? Do you have a group?
No, actually, I just took.
Oh, okay. You need a group still.
Yes.
Okay. And then Nawaf Al-Shamiri. No Nawaf? Okay, let's see here. Badr Alanzi.
Yes.
And Abdurrahman Alohaid. You only have 2 members of your group, right? I got a 3rd member for you here. Fahad Al-Mutairi, right? Oh, Muhammad. Yeah. Muhammad Al-Rumi is going to be in your group too, okay? Sort this again.
Professor?
Yeah.
I'm not in the group yet.
You're not?
No.
What's your name?
No.
Al-Shamiri?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 3 members of Group G and 3 members of Group I and 3 members of Group C. So, who would like a 4th member?
Which group we are?
You guys are G.
G.
So,
Is G available? Is it fine?
yeah,
Yeah, I will.
G? Okay. Oops. Okay. That looks very good. Now I just need to send you guys all your emails to sign up for the simulation and we'll be good to go. Yes? Huh? Tell me your name again. Al-Mutairi?
Yes.
Okay. Antonio, Alyssa, and Victor, can I add Fahad to your group? You've only got 3 right now. Okay? You're in a group with them. Anybody else missing a group? Okay, I will email you guys all tonight or tomorrow with what you need to sign up for the simulation. Yes?
Dr. Woods, how are we supposed? What did you announce the letter for each group?
No.
Okay.
I didn't announce it. I'm going to email it to you.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I'm the only one that knows the letter of the group right now.
Well, you keep saying like A and B, like.
Yeah, I know. You guys don't know which one's which. Sorry about that. You will soon enough. I'm going to email all you with that. So, cool. We're good on groups now. So, recapping what we've done so far. First week, we talked about Hambrick strategy and the strategic management process, overview kind of stuff. Then we talked about your profiles. Then last week we talked about what the homework's going to be, and now we're sort of getting into the various lectures from the text and the guts of the course. We did external analysis on Tuesday. Now we're going to do internal analysis today. So there's a number of different components to internal analysis. You usually start by taking a look at your resources, both tangible resources and intangible resources. From that, determining what your capabilities are. Once you've determined as a company what your capabilities are, you want to separate out what your core competencies are. So that's not just things that you are capable of doing, but things that you're particularly good at doing. And then discovering core competencies. There's a whole, basically what we're going to talk about today is the stuff in here mostly, and that's determining not just what your core competence is, but what a distinctive core competence is, something that's going to give you competitive advantage and strategic competitiveness. So we'll talk about some criteria for sustainable advantage, or the resource-based view of the firm, some people call it. Taking a look at the firm's resources and deciding whether they are valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and non-substitutable. Or actually, I like to swap this last one with well organized, VRIO, instead of VRIN. But we'll get into that in a little bit later. We're going to take a look at whether resources are valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and whether the organization is well organized to take advantage of those resources. Then we're going to take a look at value chain analysis and benchmarking, seeing what areas a company is particularly good at compared to their competitors. We'll talk a little bit about outsourcing, and that'll be the lecture for the day. So resource-based strategies attempt to exploit a company's valuable and rare resources to deliver value to customers in ways that are difficult for rivals to match. So the key here is to focus on resources of the firm that are better than the competition. Something that you do better than the competition, and that you can continue to do better than the competition in the future. So there's 4 criteria, like I said, of what you're looking for in a resource. First of all, is it valuable? I may have a resource of lots of extra bags at my house, but no one cares. The resource is not valuable. So first of all, the resource needs to be valuable, whether it's people or financial resources or manufacturing resources. It needs to be something that's valuable to customers. The next question is it rare? So if you are competing in the fast food business, it's valuable to have a drive-through, but it's not rare. Everybody has a drive-through. So you want to focus on resources that are rare, something that your competitors don't have, and also something that it's not easy for competitors to imitate. So if your company is in the software business and has a spreadsheet program that will take every other cell and sum it, and that's very valuable for certain kinds of logistics companies. It's not that hard for another company to go in write the same kind of code and develop that functionality for their spreadsheet as well. So it might be rare and something that the other competitors have, but it's something the other competitors could have if they just invested a little bit of time and energy in expanding their own resources. And then finally, is the company well organized to take advantage of its resource strength? So what's a good example here? I would say, in some ways, Cal State Bakersfield is not very well organized to take advantage of its resource. I mean, we are basically the only 4-year university within 100 miles of Bakersfield. It's a real competitive advantage that we're the only institution in this area. It's hard to imitate. To build a whole other school takes time and a lot of money. But we're not really focused. If you look at how many high schools there are in Kern County, if you look at the percentage of students that come here from Kern County high schools, it's way lower than it should be. And we're just not well organized with our recruiting right now to take advantage of the fact that we're the only game in town. So you may have a resource which is valuable, but you have to actually take advantage of it and be well organized as a company to be able to take advantage of that resource. So, identifying competitively important resources and capabilities. Some types of valuable resources and capabilities, other examples besides some of the ones that I just gave. Skills or specialized expertise in a competitively important activity. So, if you are particularly good at marketing and you're a consumer products company, that's going to be really important. So you may have staff that are really skilled at doing marketing, and you're a marketing-based company. So that's an example of a resource to focus on. Valuable physical assets. So that kind of goes back to the Bakersfield example, the CSUB example. We have, I mean, it's not the best building in the world, but we have a whole campus full of buildings for offering classes. It's a valuable physical asset. There is no other campus like this within 100 miles of Bakersfield. Valuable human assets or intellectual capital. So it may be, I think in the software industry, having valuable computer programmers, both people who are skilled at programming, as well as the software itself. The software itself, once it's written, is actually intellectual property of the firm. It's copyrighted material. So you may not think of that as a copyrightable material like books or music, but software falls under the same copyright laws that books and other works of art like that do. So software firms really focus on intellectual capital, the programming that is better quality than other programs, for example. Valuable organizational assets. So you may have, I think Southwest Airlines is a good example of this. So Southwest Airlines has a very strong culture of sort of having fun and putting employees first, not customers first, but employees first, and really making sure that they take care of their employees and make it a fun environment to work in for everybody that works for Southwest. So as an organization, they've really focused on building this culture of having fun, and that culture at Southwest is hard to imitate from other airlines. So that's also an example of a valuable resource. Valuable intangible assets. So a lot of times this is company reputation or brand awareness. I think Apple is a really good example of this. Apple has a reputation for being innovative and cool and coming up with the best new software and hardware combinations. So it's not necessarily that Apple invested a lot in marketing their brand. They did, but there's sort of a built-up goodwill in the marketplace for Apple in particular because of the kind of company they've been over the years. So that's an example of an intangible asset. And then competitively valuable alliances or cooperative ventures. This is something I could have done better with my old licensing company if I had been in a better negotiating position. So my contracts with record labels in Europe to represent them in Brazil were non-exclusive contracts. So by default, I ended up being the only one representing them because they didn't have any other representatives in Brazil. But if I had continued with that business, I really should have and would have needed to get exclusive contracts with those record labels. So in this case, exclusive cooperation with a certain supplier, exclusive cooperation with a certain distribution partner. That could be a competitive advantage as well, to have a partner that nobody else but you can work with because of a contract of some kind. That can be a competitive resource as well. So competencies, core competencies, and distinctive competencies. Like I talked about before, you start by taking a look at the resources of the company and then identifying what competencies, core competencies, and distinctive competencies of the firm are. So a competence is just the product of organizational learning and experience and represents proficiency in performing an internal activity. So this is any internal activity the company is good at doing. Could be administrative reporting, could be marketing capacity, like I said before, could be really any of the examples that I just gave. Could be the competitive, the exclusive contract. Could be the goodwill that the company has in the marketplace. Could be any of those things. That's something that the company is good at doing in some way. A core competency is a well-performed internal activity that's also central to the company's competitiveness and profitability. So Cal State may be really good at like administrative organization. We've got a lot of administrative staff on this campus, and they do a lot of services that are pretty complex. But it's not necessarily important to our competitive advantage as a university. And important is the relationships we have with funding sources, so relationships with the state government and the recruiting that we do of students for tuition, how we do with fundraising, and then the quality of our teachers and the quality of our buildings. Those are the things that really make a difference. So even if we're good at the administrative stuff, it's not actually a core competence because it's not something that is central to our competitiveness and profitability. And then finally, a distinctive competence is competitively valuable activity that you do better than your competitors. So that's really what you want to get to, is a resource. You want to base your company's success on resources that you are better at than your competition. So types of core competencies. This is similar to the types of resources we just talked about before. Expertise in building networks and systems to enable e-commerce. Speeding new or next generation products to market, so getting products to market quickly could be a core competence. Better after sales service capability for companies where the ongoing customer relationship is really important. So in some ways I would say cable TV. I mean, the most important thing that keeps me with DirecTV is that they solve problems when I have them. In the case of a company like a cable company or a TV provider, the after-sales service capability is really central to their competitiveness. Skills in manufacturing a high-quality product. So, if you are a tool and die shop that makes very specific struts that go in cars, you're really good at making those struts. That could be a core competence is manufacturing a high quality product of some kind. Innovativeness in developing popular product features. So I'd go back to Apple again with this. Apple is very good at developing new features for products that are attractive and interesting for people. So a lot of times leading the market before customers have asked for these things. Apple is developing product features that they believe are going to be valuable for customers in the future. Speed and agility in responding to new market trends. So let's see here. Relatively quickly, the opportunity for online education or degree programs where you don't have to be on campus all the time is proliferating really fast and really dynamically. There's always new universities that are offering online degrees and offering degrees where you don't have to be on campus and in class so much. And as a university, I'm not saying we're necessarily very good at this at CSUB, but any university that is able to quickly adjust and start offering more online courses is going to have core competence in being able to react to trends in the educational marketplace. System to fill customer orders accurately and swiftly. So Amazon's a great example. Amazon takes orders for buying almost anything all the time, every day. You expect that it's going to be shipped in 2 days and it's going to be convenient and at your house. And when you click that button on Amazon, you just have complete faith that something's going to show up. So that's an example of a core competence that the company like Amazon has. And then finally, expertise in integrating multiple technologies to create families of new products. So expertise in integrating multiple technologies. In some ways, IBM is good at this. They've done a lot to offer cloud computing solutions to different organizations as a service, which combines a lot of different hardware and software technologies into one particular offering. So the ability to combine those technologies into a cloud solution is a good example of that core competency. So there's tangible resources and intangible resources. Tangible resources are financial, organizational, physical, and technological. So other resources to take a look at that might be a competitive advantage for your company. The firm's borrowing capacity. So maybe your company has a particular particularly good ability to borrow money from the bank. Firm's ability to generate internal funds. So a company like Google has a really high profit margin, is growing pretty dynamically. The fact that they have they have a current ratio of like 4. It's absurd how much cash on hand Google has. So if you have a very profitable business model with a lot of cash on hand, that can be an advantage. Organizational resources, the firm's formal reporting structure. So sometimes the way that you have departments or competence areas or functional areas, the way you have your organization organized itself can be a tangible resource. Physical resources, sophistication and location of a firm's plant and equipment, and the attractiveness of its location. So if we go back to the Cal State Bakersfield example, it's cooler in here now than it used to be, but that first day, it was really hot in this room, and we've had a lot of problems at Cal State in the past with temperature, climate control in our classrooms. So maybe our equipment's not very good, but the location's great because there's no other four-year university within 100 miles. So that's an example of a physical resource. Distribution facilities. So Target has a big distribution center just a little south of here. It's expensive to build the distribution center. So once you've invested the money and the project time in building the distribution center, it becomes a really key physical resource and differentiator. Product inventory. So if you have if I want a new webcam, I want it now. I don't want to have to. If that webcam breaks, I want another one by next Tuesday so that I can continue recording class without interruption. So, for anybody that's offering technology components like webcams, having the product in stock, making sure that you have a large inventory of immediately available products. Is important as a resource. Technological resources, availability of technology-related resources such as copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets. So, like I talked about in the software industry before, also in the entertainment business, one of the key resources that we as Sony Music had when I was at Sony Music was the catalog of music we had. For example, we have all the rights to the Earth, Wind, and Fire music. Earth, Wind, and Fire, you can always relicense Earth, Wind, and Fire for another commercial or another greatest hits internet music channel or app channel on your phone. It's always good for taking advantage of the intellectual property that we have there. So we have contracts with a lot of different artists that we have in perpetuity. So those contracts are the valuable thing that Sony had. The software business. So once you've spent the time and money to have your programmers program code, you've got a copyright to it, and that becomes a tangible resource. Same thing for patents and trademarks. Anybody in here know what the difference is between a patent, a copyright, and a trademark? So, a patent is the exclusive rights to some invention, some process. It's usually something physical. A trademark is the rights to an image or a name. So, like,
Disney.
Disney, yeah. So, like the Disney name, the Disney logo, or the Nike swoosh. Those are trademarks. And then copyrights are intellectual property. So anything that you basically create in your head but doesn't have a tangible physical component to it, like music, like books, like software, that tends to fall under copyright law. They're all different versions of the same exclusive rights to a resource of some kind, but one of them has to do with physical resources, one with images, and one with intellectual resources. So in addition to tangible resources, we've also got intangible resources. Those usually are either human innovation resources or reputational resources. So human resources like knowledge, trust, skills, ability to collaborate with others. So the relationships that your workers have with each other, if they trust each other, if they have a good collegial working environment, that's an intangible resource, the relationships between your employees. The knowledge that they have about the jobs that they do, or the skills that they have in the jobs that they do are intangible. It's not, even if somebody's good at building laptops, the laptop is something physical, but my ability to build it is a skill. There's no, it doesn't not physical, tangible anywhere. Innovation resources, ideas, scientific capabilities, capacity to innovate. So I go back to Apple again on this one. Apple is really good at generating new product ideas before customers even know that they want it. So before the iPhone originally came out, nobody really even thought about being able to rotate the phone and have all the text and pictures rotate too. That like gyroscopic capacity of the phone, Apple came up with, and then all the rest of the companies imitated after that. The original foresight to come up with useful product features like that is an intangible resource in itself. So the ability to come up with ideas, the ability to innovate is another form of intangible resource. Reputational resources, brand name. So Nike, Adidas, Tide detergent, Colgate toothpaste, or Crest toothpaste. Those brand names have value to the company. So I'm more of an Arm & Hammer toothpaste person myself, but I'm loyal to Arm & Hammer. Like when I go to the store, I just grab the Arm & Hammer product. I don't even look at the Crest products and Colgate products. I just grab the Arm & Hammer product. So that relationship with the customer, to have a brand name that you associate with, perceptions of product quality, durability, and reliability. So there's a commercial that I see on TV a lot for this like industrial strength military grade like a lantern for $19.99. I mean, I've never actually called the number to order it, but the way that they describe how durable it is, they have the car run over it, and they throw it in water, they put it in boiling grease, and nothing damages it. So that image of the product as being indestructible, durable, is important. Other products and services where you have a reputation for quality or reliability are also examples of reputational resources. Positive reputation with stakeholders such as suppliers and customers. So your relationship with your customers is a key important resource. So I think if I go back to cable companies again, cable companies have a real danger of taking their customers for granted and not being very responsive with service and ending up with a bad reputation instead of a good reputation. So important in things like TV, internet provider, telephone service provider. It's important to have a positive reputation with your customers. Also, having a positive reputation with your suppliers. So, if I go back to the music business again, the artists are the suppliers, and the record label is the company, and then either businesses for advertising or individual people for downloads are the end customers. So for me, if yes.
Going to like the music thing.
Uh-huh.
Are they ever gonna stop making like CDs?
Are they ever going to stop making CDs?
Yeah. They're like kind of
I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that CD manufacturing will eventually be like cassettes and vinyl. I mean, there's a niche for it. There's certain like collectors that like to collect it, but it's like a specialty product, and it won't be. You won't see them very often. Just people that are really geeky collectors will have them. I think is what's going to happen to the CD.
So should we just talk about CD now?
If you want, sure, but
Tell them that you can throw off more money.
I mean, because you have like Spotify, Pandora, like all those things now.
theoretically, if you had a good quality CD of like Nirvana, Nevermind, if you have like ace quality CD, and you continue to hang on to it for another 20 or 30 years, there's not going to be very many good quality Nirvana CDs left, and that thing will be worth money. What would you raise your hand for?
How do like singers make money off of Spotify applications compared to like when they just actually sell the songs or like albums?
Basically, Spotify and other streaming options, they basically keep track of about how many customers they have, about how many about how many signed up subscriptions they have, and how often they play the song. And there's actually a royalty formula for you have to pay like 2 cents to the artist for every 5 times you play the song, or something like that. There's actually a formula, so the artist gets paid based on how many times the song plays and how many customers there are. Huh? What?
Do you think they make more like that or like when people actually buy the
I think artists make the most money in doing live performances.
Yeah, that's where they get most of their money anyway.
Um,
Concerts.
Live performances and merchandise more so than the actual music. And when it does come to the music, advertising and movie placement pay a lot better than Spotify or other services like it. But I would say that in order to be in the game in the first place, you have to have that stream of revenues coming in from Spotify so that people actually know your music. But then you make more money once people know you by doing live concerts. Other questions? Those are good questions.
People use like Pandora or like I use Pandora.
Uh-huh.
Spotify. People use it for free.
What's that?
Like I don't pay that extra. So I'm like they have to pay the people that I listen to.
So, are there advertisements on Pandora?
Yeah, there are. If you don't have the, so they're getting paid through the advertisements. Okay.
So Pandora gets paid by advertisers, and then they have to give a portion of that money to the artists because that's the property that's generating the interest in the ads. So some other examples of firm capabilities. Walmart's a great example of distribution, effective use of logistics and management techniques. Microsoft is really great at motivating, empowering, and training employees. So employees. So developing a culture where people are really motivated to produce new software and become better as professionals and stay with the organization for a long period of time. That human resource function Microsoft is particularly good at. Management information systems, effective and efficient control of inventories through point-of-purchase data collection methods. Again, Walmart, to a certain extent, Target, are really good at controlling their inventory by barcode scanners at the point of purchase. So they've got real-time information on exactly how much inventory they have at certain stores, and they don't want to have too much and don't want to have too little. Marketing, Procter & Gamble, Ralph Lauren, McKinsey, Nordstrom, Crate & Barrel. Being able to do things like effective promotion of brand name products, effective customer service, innovative merchandising. So any company that produces toothpaste or potato chips or soda or whatever needs to have the ability to market brand name products, because you can pretty much, there's a slight taste difference, but pretty much Coke and Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and everything else are exactly the same. It's a difference in your brand loyalty that makes the difference in which one you choose to drink. Management, Hugo Boss and Zara, the ability to envision the future of clothing. So the ability to see where the market's going in the future, see where developments and driving forces in your industry, like we talked about on Tuesday. If you as a management team are particularly good at identifying driving forces, then you're going to be good at seeing the future of your industry. Manufacturing capabilities, Komatsu, WIT Gas Technology, Sony. Design and production skills yielding reliable products, product and design quality, miniaturization of components and products. So the dependable ability to manufacture, PlayStation terminals is a core competence. Some would say a distinctive competence of Sony. That high quality manufacturing capability. Research and development. Innovative technology, development of sophisticated elevator control solutions, rapid transformation of technology into new products and processes, digital technology. Examples of this are Caterpillar, Otis Elevator, Chaparral Steel, Thompson Consumer Electronics. So maybe not too many people in here have much interaction in their day-to-day life with Caterpillar, like earth-moving equipment. But as a company for heavy-duty excavation and construction type work, Caterpillar is great at innovating new products that do the best possible job of excavating of various construction tasks. So their ability to develop better technology is a great example of research and development capability. Outcomes of the 4 criteria for sustainable advantage. So we talked before about how it's important that your capabilities be valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and I'm changing this to well organized. So if it's not valuable, it's not rare, it's not costly to imitate, and you're not well organized to do it, you're going to have below average profits, and you're going to have a competitive disadvantage. If you've got a resource which is valuable but is not rare and is not hard to imitate, you're going to have pretty much, it's going to be equality with your competitors. It's going to be really hard to have differentiation. It's going to be really hard to claim that you're better than the competition because you have the same product as they do. It's not rare. It's not hard to imitate. You're going to have average profits. If you've got a resource that's valuable and rare, but it's not very hard to imitate, you're going to have an advantage for a little while, and you're going to have above average profits for a little while, but it's not going to be sustainable for very long. And then finally, if you have something that's valuable, rare, and costly to imitate, you're going to have sustainable competitive advantage and above average profits. This is a nice graphic from one of my colleagues that teaches this class on some of the resources that Starbucks as an organization has. So Wi-Fi internet access, that's valuable, but everybody has Wi-Fi. R&D skills, so figuring out how to make better coffee and better food, valuable, but there's lots of people that look at how to make better coffee and better food.
Coffee.
Huh? The coffee bean and tea leaf.
I think it's way better.
Peats. Huh?
I think coffee bean is way better than Starbucks.
Yeah, see? So it's not very, it's not necessarily even the best. It might be valuable, but there's other companies that have the same capability, and that's more valuable to you. Ability to raise capital. So Starbucks has pretty good relationships with Wall Street and with various banks, so they can raise capital. But there's lots of other large coffee and snack companies that also have that same ability. Coffee brewing equipment, same thing, valuable. Lots of other companies have it. Human resource management. Yes, it's good that they manage their employees well, but they don't really manage their employee. They don't have a distinctive culture that's so different from Pete's or from Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf or anybody else. So that's not very rare. Coffee house setup. They do have a little bit of a unique way that they set up the Starbucks locations, but it's not very hard to imitate. If Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf or Pete's or anybody else really decided that Starbucks' physical layout of their stores was the way that they need to be, it's pretty easy to imitate. Employee compensation. It's an innovative compensation package that Starbucks offers their employees, but it's not hard to imitate by other firms as well. Quality product mix. So they got good quality coffee, good quality. Well, depending on which is your favorite. They got good quality coffee and good quality snacks, but it's not that hard it's not that hard to imitate them. So it's a little bit unique, but not hard to imitate. Coffee house locations, kind of hard to imitate because you have to spend money to build the location. But you see lots of examples of Pete's or Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf locating directly across from a Starbucks somewhere, so it's not too hard to imitate location. Employee benefits. There's a benefits package that Starbucks has that is, I don't know why exactly, but it's hard for other companies to imitate. I think it might be because of exclusive contracts they have with certain benefits suppliers. Socially responsible corporate image. So they've got a positive image when it comes to social responsibility, and you can't just, in the simulation that you guys are going to be working on, you can actually kind of just manufacture good reputation for social responsibility by changing the decision inputs. But in the real world, it takes time to build a positive reputation for social responsibility. So it's hard to imitate because it takes a long time to do. Buying power, hard to imitate. It's not hard to imitate for Peeps or Coffee Bean tea leaves, but anybody else new getting into the market, they don't have very much buying power because they're not as big as Starbucks. Starbucks is so big that they have a lot of buying power, and it's hard for other companies to. Other companies can't get as big as Starbucks fast or easily, so it's hard to imitate. Number of coffee houses, same thing. Costs a lot of money to build coffee houses. That's hard to imitate. But all of those things, Starbucks is not particularly well organized to take advantage of. Things that are also valuable, rare, and hard to imitate that Starbucks is particularly well organized to take advantage of. Propensity for innovation, relationships with coffee farmers. So the way that their manufacturing, distribution, logistics work, they really are in a good position to take advantage of good relationships with coffee bean farmers. Customer experience, they've got a good setup for actually being able to be very responsive to customer experiences in their stores. Corporate leadership and vision and renowned brand. They're very well organized at exploiting their brand name. So those are things, examples of valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and organized resources that the company is well organized to take advantage of. Competitive strength assessment. So we're going to switch gears here. The first part of the lecture I was talking about identifying valuable, rare, hard to imitate resources. The second part of the lecture we're going to talk about comparing resource capabilities between one firm and another. So you want to identify the most valuable resources you can, and then you're going to determine how competitive those resources are against the competition. So we've talked about identifying resources. Now we talk about comparing them to competition. Focuses on cross-company comparisons of how certain activities are performed and costs associated with these activities. So things like purchase of materials, payment of suppliers, getting new products to market, performance of quality control, filling and shipping of customer orders. These are not necessarily distinctive competencies, but they are core competencies, things that, or key success factors, as we talked about in the last lecture, things that every company in the industry has to be good at doing. So we're defining the resources a little bit more broadly again for comparison, whereas we were really looking for the specific resources that the company was best at, the really best in the world at in the prior part of the lecture. So every company needs to purchase materials normally. How good are you at doing that compared to the competition? Are you quick and efficient at paying your suppliers? Do you have good logistics to be able to get products to market? Are you vigilant about your quality control, and are you quick and efficient about shipping and filling orders? This is a nice graphic here. There's certain like things from my MBA that I studied that I wish I would have made a copy of and like kept with me in my jobs that I did after that. I think this sheet is a good example of that. It's got lists, very, very like detailed lists down here of the activities associated with every different major function of an organization. So, supply chain management, for example, this first box in the value chain. Activities, costs, and assets associated with purchasing fuel, energy, raw materials, parts and components, merchandise, consumable items from vendors, receiving, storing, and disseminating inputs from suppliers, inspection, and inventory management. So all of those things are potentially competencies or core competencies of a company in a certain industry. So it's just the inventory of being able to compare, is my company actually good at each of these things? It's hard to see, but it's in your textbook as well. Plus, you can open up the slides later too if you want to see. But you got similar kinds of extensive lists under operations, distribution, sales and marketing, service, and then the support activities as well. Product R&D, technology, systems development, human resources management, and general administration down here at the bottom of that little model. Why do companies have differences in costs or differences in their abilities at core competencies? Well, the prices they pay for raw materials, component parts, and energy, and other supplier resources may be different. So one of the ways that companies are different in their core competence resources are the prices that they pay for the component materials that make up their products. Basic technology and age of plant and equipment. So the overall level of your facilities, so like Cal State Bakersfield here as an example, is not very competitive we do not have very high-class facilities and high-class technology compared to a lot of other campuses around the state. Economies of scale and experience curve effects. So being able to do a certain production activity over and over and over again, if you can do it many times, it tends to generate economies of scale, which means that the average cost per unit goes down. And experience curve. So the more times you do things, the more efficient you get at doing it. So some companies are better at doing things repetitively than other companies. Wage rates and productivity levels. So some companies pay their workers more than others. Some companies' workers are more productive than others. Marketing, promotion, and administration costs. So some companies are better than others at the way that they do their marketing. Inbound and outbound shipping costs, forward channel distribution costs. All of these are different reasons why companies have different costs. Outsourcing. When outside companies can perform certain activities better or cheaper, it allows the main focus business to focus its energies on the core business. You want to try and outsource activities that are not critical to competitive advantage. So, as an example, I'm not sure if this is the case or not, but like issuing paychecks. Issuing paychecks at Microsoft is probably not that critical to competitive advantage. So it's done by direct deposit. It's not for all we know, Microsoft may use a company like Paychex to do their salary disbursement because it's not a core competence in software development or in marketing that the company really needs. Outsourcing can result in a lower quality product or service, so you got to be careful that you don't outsource core competencies because that can actually hurt the company instead of help it. Just as a piece of fun tidbit information here, I listed for you guys. I am like really a small business and entrepreneurship guy here at Cal State. I teach the strategy course, but my experience, my perspective for business strategy comes from a small business point of view. So I've listed a couple of outsourcing companies that are really good for small businesses to find people to do things. Time, etc. is a good source of U.S.-based virtual assistants. Elance is both domestic and international virtual assistants. Tasks Every Day is particularly from virtual assistants from India are really good. Fiverr is a great website where people are willing to do things for $5. All kinds of different services and activities that people are willing to perform for $5 or more. And then Get Apps Done is a great online resource for finding code programmers. So just some outsourcing resources for small businesses for those of you in here that end up going into small business in the future or are in small businesses right now. Taking an inventory of a company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So how many people in here are familiar with SWOT analysis? Everybody. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. This is not new material for you. What I would like to focus on is the way that you answer these questions for your company. So if you look at opportunities and threats on one axis here and strengths and weaknesses on the other, rather than just listing what the strengths are, what the opportunities are, what the threats are, what the weaknesses are, ask yourself, how can you use your strengths to take advantage of opportunities? So take a look at strengths compared to the other factors. So how can you use your strengths to avoid threats to the company? Or how can you overcome weaknesses by taking advantage of opportunity? How can you somehow take advantage of an external opportunity and take care of a weakness in that respect? Or how can you avoid certain threats in the marketplace and because you're particularly weak in those areas as a company? So the questions that you ask yourself, I wanted to go over briefly here for SWOT. Risk assessment matrix. This is another way of looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You can take a look at the likelihood of something occurring and the implications of the outcome. So, in general, as a company, you want to pay particular attention to things that are very likely to happen, that are going to have a very big impact on your company. So if it could have a big impact on your company, but it's not very likely to happen, you put less focus on that than the ones that are likely to happen. Pretty intuitive. So we've got just about 10 minutes left. There's 3 major concepts that I went over today. I want to just recap them briefly and discuss a little bit from some of your guys' examples. Resource-based view. So this idea of choosing resources that are valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and that you're well organized to take advantage of. Competitive strength assessments. So comparing one company to another in various core competency areas, and then SWOT analysis. So who's got a good example of a valuable, rare, hard to imitate resource from the company you work with, or one of the companies you'd like to work for?
I would say like AT&T,
Uh-huh.
their 1 gig download speed. I think that's pretty awesome. Their fiber to the stock. So I know that's something that not a lot of companies have. I know Spectrum is like 300 megs, and AT&T's 1 gig. So I don't know anyone that needs that fast download speed, but it's pretty impressive, I think.
So do you think that Sprint, or not Sprint, but what is it, Verizon or T-Mobile, do you think they could also offer a gig download speed if they wanted to?
On the mobile network, no. Residential for Verizon, I don't think they're that advanced yet.
You don't think that they're capable of doing it?
Eventually, yes, but AT&T.
I think it's not that inimitable. I think it's like a resource that's relatively easy to imitate. It's gonna take a little time,
Yeah.
but imitatable. Good example. Somebody else give me an example of a valuable, hard to imitate, rare resource. Nathaniel Lopez. You talked about maybe wanting to work for Merrill Lynch in the future. So what's a resource that Merrill Lynch has that you think is valuable, rare, hard to imitate?
Can I go with Apple instead?
Huh?
Apple
Yeah, go ahead.
innovation.
Okay.
So like them coming up with new stuff, new ways to use technology. Like the new iPhone they're coming up with. I think they're calling it the X.
Mm-hmm.
How they have facial recognition, and
You want to finish?
oh no, that's
Okay, what were you going to say?
Well, that face recognition, I used to have an HTC one, which came out so many years ago.
Mhm.
And that had face recognition. I don't think they're the first ones to innovate that aspect.
So maybe it's not as rare as we might think. Okay. Okay, good examples. Let's talk briefly about competitive strength assessments. So if you go down to the case analysis section of Blackboard, linking this lecture back to your homework assignment that you're going to have to do in your groups, the homework assignment from this one is identifying core competencies or key success factors, and then comparing two companies. So somebody give me an example of a company that we could do this for quick.
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo. Okay. So it's the banking industry. What are some of the things that is important for a bank to be able to do?
Have money to have deposits in order to lend.
What's that?
Have enough deposits in order to lend out money to customers.
Okay. Have sufficient. What?
They do.
Not necessarily. It depends on the bank. Some of them weren't so lucky. The bigger ones did. But having sufficient deposits to cover your liabilities is important. Yes. What else? What's that? Okay. Multiple branches. What else?
Competitive interest rate.
Okay. Competitive interest rates. What else? Give me two more.
Like family company, like having multiple people, like good reputation, so multiple people want to come. Like your families will come rather than one person in the family.
So, good reputation?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. One more.
Low rate fees.
Huh?
Low rate fees.
Low rate fees, okay. So now we need to determine which of these is more important and less important. What do you think is the most important?
Deposits.
Huh?
Deposits.
Okay.
You're
Okay, we'll put both of those as high. Which are some of the ones that might not be as high? Low fees?
For retail, their interest rates might be competitive.
Huh? For retail?
Yeah, but for commercial lending, they're pretty conservative.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to Wells Fargo in particular in a second. Right now, we're just talking about in general for the industry. So then maybe we could say that good reputation is medium, and multiple branches, low. Okay. Yep. Yep. So if we turn these into numbers, I think the way we did that last time was 30, 30, 20, 20, 10, 10. Is that right? So if we make high 30%, wait a minute, 20%, so 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So low is 10% each. So then we would go in and, what's that? Oh, okay. We would type in a justification for why each of these things is important. And then you're going to come down here, and this is where you're going to take those same factors and weights, copy, paste, and this is where you're going to say how good Wells Fargo is at it. So you were saying for commercial, for consumer they were strong, but for business not so much. For commercial they're pretty conservative. Okay, so maybe we give them a slightly lower rating because they're only good at half of the banking business, so the consumer side, but not so much the commercial side. You're going to do that for two different companies and compare them to each other. That's about all the time we have for today. Have a good weekend. I will email you all about your simulation assignment. This is a practice round this week, so your results don't count towards your grade, but they'll give us something to discuss next week. Okay?
So we do is
See y'all next week.
So, Professor, the
Yes.
assignment's gonna